About 8 years ago, I got to teach a philosophy course in the high school where I was teaching. And I had about a dozen students ranging from 8th grade to 12th grade. And at the end of the class, I asked the students to, on the final, as a kind of, 2-point question or whatever, like, tell me something that you learned that you didn't expect to learn in this class, that matters to you. And one of these students, one of the 8th graders, and I should tell you that he and I have talked about this and joked about it, and it's come up in other classes with plenty of students. I'm not outing anybody. He wrote, he said, I used to think that philosophy was just expressing your opinions, but now I know there are rules. And I thought, that sounds about right. The kind of philosophizing that everybody does every day, and is kind of an everyday way of thinking about what philosophy is, often has to do with kind of spitballing like ideas about the meaning of life or whatever, all of which is like fine and can be fun and all of those things. And is it, there's even something philosophical about it for sure. But if what we're doing is philosophical thinking, it's not just making stuff up or having clever ideas. it's playing by the rules. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean logic, although it could. Certainly that's one aspect of, or one way of thinking about the rules, is logic, whether you're talking about symbolic, formal logic or not. But I think it's easier just to say we're trying not to have our cake and eat it too. What we want is for our thinking to be consistent. And how do we do that? We do it by trying to identify the reasons that we think the things that we think, and to do our best to see that those reasons make sense, that they're coherent with other things we think and other reasons we think them, and that the conclusions we come to are consistent with other things that we think and reasons that we think them. And so you could take the analogy or the metaphor of the car that I used in the first video I did for this channel, where I talked about buying a car, and thinking critically, examination is looking at your car and trying to determine if it's a good car, if it's a reliable car, if it's going to work, if you can use it reliably on a regular basis to do the things with it that you need to do. That's the kind of consistency ultimately that we want. We want it to work. We want it to work in the sense that we have a coherent sense of ourselves, and what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that it helps us be certain that the choices that we're making are the kinds of choices that get us ultimately where we want to go. We can talk later about where we want to go and when we want to get there from a philosophical perspective. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's about being the kind of person you want to be and making the world more like the kind of world you think you'd like for the world to be. And so in philosophy, there's a theory of knowledge referred to as justified true belief. And there's, a debate about this as a successful theory of knowledge. Generally speaking, I think, I think there's agreement. I should check. There are actually surveys about this kind of thing, that it's not airtight or anything. And there's a famous refutation of that theory of justified true belief. Not even a theory, really, just a way the guy who refuted it kind of framed it. But it also jibes. It is consistent with lots of ways people since Socrates have talked about knowledge. And whether justified true belief counts as knowledge or not, we definitely want our beliefs to be true and to be justified. So whether having a justified true belief constitutes knowledge or not isn't even really the point. What we want is for our beliefs to have good reasons to believe what we believe, and to be able to think that those things are probably right. And those are the rules, right? What constitutes justification, the need for justification, how much justification do you need to believe a certain thing? Those are all the kinds of things that we're kind of trying to figure it out, but we also know that that's what we're trying to get, and that doing those things is thinking philosophically.